Nice. So first of all, guys, I'm super excited to have you here. It's actually become kind of like a tradition. Like, I think it's the 6th year in a row that I am doing an event or a podcast or something like a gathering for International Women's Day. It kind of came together when I joined Urban MBA, one of their courses, and I created my company called Global Juno Women in Dance. Originally started as like a dance company where I wanted to work with women specifically and help with self-development through performing arts. Because I just did a lot of research and I realized how movement can change the way we think and feel about ourselves because we are so interconnected. And this journey kind of allowed me to discover who I am. And of course, I made a lot of friendships with other females, with other amazing females who are also working on self-development and growing in the businesses and of course, in who they are as women, as human beings on this planet. So I guess before we're gonna start on any discussions about this International Women's Day, first of all, I would like you guys to introduce who you are, what you do, and yeah, just a little bit about yourself. So maybe shall we start with you, Sky?
Okay, no problem. My name's Sky. I'm the owner of Loyalty Shoes, which specialises in fashionable shoes for large feet women and transgender women as also.
And actually, just to add to that, we did this amazing London Fashion Week in September, and she showcased her shoes, and it was really successful. So, like, congratulations! Because we were working together actually, so I really enjoyed working and like creating the show and getting involved all the models.
Thank you. No, your support was. Yeah, it was really good, and I appreciate it. Thank you. It was my first time doing anything like that, but I'll be looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, every time now I'm listening to that song that we actually played on the runway, I always think of you actually. Yeah, it was really, really nice.
No, it was good. Thank you. Yeah.
No, my pleasure. Sal?
So I'm Sal CHEBBAH, and I'm the founder of Elysian Roots. And originally it's an organization and a platform to teach mushroom cultivation and nutrition as a way of skilling people in communities and also offer an alternative to food security. And it became this thing about food supplement and well-being, and I'm exploring new avenues on how I can help and support people really from the grassroots level moving up.
It's really amazing, and actually it's so great because you have like these products here, and I actually can't wait to try them because, like I said, I've been researching about the mushrooms because I'm a big also coffee drinker, and then I saw you have like this coffee and mushroom drink as well. So, and of course, I know we're gonna talk about it further later on about the benefits actually can give to all of us because I feel like we don't know enough. That's what's just amazing, the business that you created.
And that was the initial story, was about trying to spread and share information about what we don't know. Why wait until we're sick? Why not start before, prevent? It's only small tweaks. I mean, it can't resolve everything, but it's the information, having the knowledge. That's all it is, really. And then do what you want with it. That was always my motto. I'm not here to force people, to preach, to make money from it. It was about, I really want to be at service. And, you know, as women, as mothers, as sisters, as daughters, we're the providers, we're the thinkers, the creators. We need to kind of support even our men in our lives to think about those things and be more connected to their body, to their soul, to others. And you do that with what? With food, with health, with exercise, with fashion, sometimes to kind of help with your creativity, all these things. And that's why it was about trying to be out there and share the information. That's what it was, really.
No, it's great. It's great. Thank you so much. And Inga?
Yeah. My name is Inga VESELOVA, and I'm a co-founder of Velvet Community, also part of Velvet Invest. So we are trying to change the way how the startups are getting their investments, because we believe that there is a lot of gaps between startup companies and investors, and that's why many companies, they are not getting funded. I'm also advising startup companies for the last 10 years, and I'm focusing on early and seed stage companies.
Oh, wow, it's amazing. You know, even when you're just talking about yourself, I guess where I came from, sometimes women not being included in those kind of conversations, you know, about startups, about investors. So it's just like so good to have at the table women from different fields, because like I work in entertainment, like acting, dancing, like stunt work, etc. And then everyone's coming from fashion, like this amazing, like growing the mushrooms and like, you know, health and then investment. It's like, it's nice to have different people from different fields to actually talk about things so we can help each other and educate each other about the things we don't actually know, or sometimes we don't know that we don't know. So, and I guess just to add to that, so this year's theme for the National Women's Day is Embrace Equity. And I think a lot of people, when we say equity, they don't even know what that means, because they think that equality and equity is exactly the same thing. But when you start looking into it, it's actually quite different. So I guess for anyone like who's watching us or listening to us, so I was actually researching this a lot, and people gave me a lot of different examples, but I guess because SKYE is here, so I was thinking I'm going to use this metaphor. So they're basically describing equity in this way. So if there is, let's say, 5 or like 4 women at the table, and they need a pair of shoes, and then they say they're giving the size 7 to all of us. And they're saying, oh, it's equal, right? Because we're giving to all these 4 women exactly the same pair of shoes, size 7. But the truth of the matter is we all have different shoe sizes. So in order to create equity, we have to know what shoe sizes to give to each female. In that case, we can create equity. So everyone having equal opportunity, because they are giving something that's specifically tailored to their needs. And of course, in every workspace, in every industry, they want to create lots of equality and equity. However, the real world is not always like this. So I kind of wanted to bring up all your experiences, guys, in your fields. What kind of the biggest challenges you are facing right now in order for you to have that equity, and I guess an equality as well in a workplace.
Me, I find, especially being in the fashion, well, just speaking to investors maybe, or it could be anything. You just come across a lot of men. You come across a lot of men. That is the truth, plain and straight about it. And it's hard to be taken seriously, as serious, being a woman when you're having a conversation about investment, about maybe future plans. You know, when you're in the corporate world, it's not as easy. We can easily have a conversation here now as women, and it flows. It's easy for me to express myself. You understand where I'm coming from, you understand. But if it was a group of men, I've got to prove I'm like them instead of I'm myself. And this is how I'm expressing myself.
You probably need to, whenever you're around men, you probably, especially talking to investors, you need to prove that you are the best from everyone they have seen before you came into the room.
Yeah. Instead of just them looking at me as an individual. Yes. Exactly. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Because I think what it is with men just like that competition energy. They want to be the best in everything. And I think even if the guys who are having like the men who are having the CEO positions, they work really hard and they're very competitive. So I think they kind of, if you having a conversation with them, they're kind of expecting the same energy out of you. So sometimes you have to be so over prepared kind of to prove the point, but sometimes we have to be even more prepared than the man would be prepared in order to get that kind of deal. I think this is what kind of becomes a bit, okay, where is the limit? So who decides who's worth that position, isn't it?
Having had a career in finance, in consulting, in art, now in well-being, I can tell you there's no limit. What it has to do has to change completely. It doesn't work. So what you're saying is absolutely true. You come in a room, there's men, and in all industries, top people in management level will always be men. The decision makers will always be men. The money givers will always be men. You might have one woman sitting on the board, but you know. It has to change. This archaic way of leading, of lending, is dead. It doesn't work. It's not serving the new world as it is. You need empathetic leaders, empathetic investors, healers as leaders, and so on. So when you're coming, you should not change yourself. This is where women, we've made the mistake our entire lives in society. We've wanted to suit and serve whatever fits, so we could get the crumbs. And that's what, it's not worked. Look at where we are today. It's not working. So my advice always to young women is, don't change yourself. Yes, you can be professional, you can adapt, but at the end of the day, they need to change, not us. And we're always going on everywhere telling women, we need to have a bit more competitive, we need to be a bit more aggressive, we need to bring the masculine in us.
You are who you are.
But that's wrong, that's what's wrong. Right. Oh, look at all the women CEOs, they're aggressive, they're mean, they don't treat their staff well. You know, that's not what we want.
Yeah, I guess well, I didn't mean for you need to be competitive and aggressive. I said this is how men, they are used to communicating this way. So when they see you, because all they think about is, okay, what those figures, how to make the money and how to reach the targets, right? So when they see you there, all they're thinking about is, look, I just need to reach those kind of, you know, the numbers. That's all they mainly think about.
No,
if you
you're
just,
right.
I think like the only way things like this will change and improve is diversity. That's it. Because I think if you have just a bunch of women, you're still going to at some point have the same problem. If you have a bunch of men, if you have a bunch of black people, a bunch of white people, diversity, that's the only way, because you have more of a, it's not just so narrowed down. Do you get what I mean? You definitely need the diversity in the higher levels.
and representation, isn't
That's
it?
it. So, and like what you said, what I liked what you said when you said we're kind of taught if we want to get to that level, then we have to change who we are. We have to be more aggressive. We have to be cutthroat. Sort of leave our feminine side alone. And and it's just like you said, it hasn't worked.
It hasn't worked for anyone.
That's right. So
I think it always has to be that yin and yang, isn't it? It has to be like masculine and feminine, because how to find that balance, because men also need that balance as well to bring into their lives, isn't it?
But people confuse masculine and feminine anyway. What does it mean? What does it mean masculine? What does it mean feminine? Masculine, I'm going to go fight. Masculine means logic, preparedness. These attributes women have anyway. We have masculine attributes. What does feminine mean? Nurturing, organized. Men have nurturing and organization skills. But what has been taken out in business is been that, or in other industries, is that masculine is one way, which is fighting, competition, whatever, and feminine is girly. No, what we need to kind of talk about and reclaim is empowerment, and what does masculine feminine energy mean in one human being. Then when these two exist within ourselves, then men, women at the table share the same, and we share where the skills where we lack, the other brings. And that's how you get progress and change at the table. I mean, these conversations exist, but we're for women. It would be interesting that we bring a man or two men.
Actually, I was thinking exactly the same thing as you were telling, because otherwise, in order for this to change, we need to have like those kind of conversations together, isn't it?
And that's the mistake of the feminist movement. I am a feminist, but what they haven't done, and they had to, rightly so, is just fight for unique rights that didn't exist. So they push for certain things, for us to be sitting here and have freedoms. But as it evolved, men should have been brought at the table, because mothers raise sons. I'm sorry, they're not raised by, you know, the school. They're raised by women. So technically they should have transmuted all this love and changing energy, but it hasn't happened. So what do we do then? What are we left with? A chaotic world, people are confused, workspace aren't working as they were, investment is just put into wrong directions, we're not moving together. So what do we need to do? We hold each other's hands and we say, okay, I don't mind if I have to not mansplain, but explain and talk and have a conversation about what do they expect? How do they feel? They're also suffering. And in their suffering, our role as women is always to make them feel better. Therefore, we can't progress because we're having to carry their problem that the world has created. Is so important International Women's Day, to celebrate, to advocate for the rights and the issues that we still experience as women, because they are real, they exist. But also, we will not succeed if we don't get them on board, ever. That's the bottom line to me.
That's right. I think, yeah, exactly that, because then it just ends up being the same scenario. Then you have a bunch of women in power and no men, and then the men are going to feel...
Which is completely wrong.
Do you get what I mean? So it just leaves that balance.
Yeah.
We need balance.
Absolutely.
It's interesting because I was watching like some interviews with female journalists and like talking with like males, I don't know, psychologists, etc. And I realized some of them actually are quite aggressive towards men. And I was watching that conversation. Somehow it did not resonate with me. And I was thinking, you are claiming to be a feminist, but here you are really attacking this guy. And the thing is, because of course a man can't fully understand what a woman going through because he's a man for obvious reasons, right? And she's sitting there really attacking him. And I'm like, we're not really going anywhere with that kind of conversation.
That's not what we want.
Not anymore. It served its time. When we were fighting, when women had to fight for their lives, for their bodies, it was necessary to kind of step up and do this, fighting, fronting. Well, okay, we got somewhere, now we're regressing. Look at every laws are changing and they're taking things away from us that we took for granted. So it means something hasn't worked with them. So who were we supposed to change? Not just us, them. And that's not what we've achieved. I think we've made men more scared of women, more confused with themselves, because a lot of men are suffering. I'm sorry, a lot of mental health issues are around men. We are having, as husbands, as wives, as girlfriends, as partners, as mothers, sisters, we're having to support these men struggling, and that's not helping at all. But when we talk about equality and equity, it still doesn't exist. I don't see it. I mean, we talk about it a lot, and it's important, but I don't see it. I mean, it's minimal. And I've worked for organizations that were ahead of the game, and they were kind of precursors of so many things. But bottom line, it's only for a select few. Generally, you look, I mean, what has changed? Really, women are being offered equity, fair chances? Not really. Not in terms of investment, not in terms of businesses. I mean,
I think what they started doing is, so they said, oh, we're going to create equal rights for men and women, instead of them trying to create the equity and giving them what they exactly need.
But what they do, they're just erasing the gender boundaries.
That's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, and then they think that's going to...
actually giving the equal rights, so that, for example, you can have the same right to be promoted to the CEO level. So it doesn't matter if you are a man or you're a woman. It depends on your qualities. What you do, what you bring to the corporate world, or what do you bring to your own business. So this is what we are talking about. Not just talking about like you're just a mass of people.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what's happening. And still, you're right, you sit at a table, you're talking to men. I'm talking from my experience, cultivation, farming, agriculture, it's a man's world. And women in there were seen as not expert. And you're like, why are we not experts? How come? Because they just see us still as, we don't have the skill, we don't have the mindset, we're not technical enough, we're not passionate enough. And so when you have these conversations, it's difficult, because they see us, they say, well, but you need to be the best. It doesn't matter that you're a man and a woman, then we give you a chance.
They want you to be like a part of them, like a part of the, let's say, men's
world?
Yeah, men's world, yes, exactly. And it puts also a lot of pressure on your appearance when you're going to business meetings or when you're going to a business conference.
Definitely.
And you have to be very selective of how you're dressing, what message do you bring. And the message you're bringing is that I'm one of you. Because if they see you're dressed, you put something that looks a little bit more feminine, then into their appearance you'll be just, oh, what a nice girl.
Yes.
So they will not treat you like a business professional.
That's right.
And actually, Because I do martial arts. I train in Filipino martial arts, Eskrima, Ukali, and I compete as well. And I'm a British champion actually. Like last year, I qualified for World Championship as well.
Wow.
And I have another competition coming up. And sometimes now, so I'm in a senior position, so sometimes I have to like lead the classes. And it's really interesting because most of the time it's men, and then they probably like older than me, and they have the like various martial arts, etc. So at the beginning, I really struggled teaching those classes. Actually, in a way, I was kind of anxious because they always tested me to kind of, I'm not sure, because everyone was really lovely. I'm not sure if they did it on purpose, but I think more of like subconsciously. They were like, oh, I'm not sure this girl, you know, because I'm like blonde, like, like who does she?
Typical feminine looking lady.
Yeah, and then I really struggled to have the authority over the class. Sometimes I would finish the session and be like, because I feel like they maybe they would talk over me, or I would doubt myself, even though I know the technique is right. I would still sometimes that's what I did kind of before. I would become more submissive and be like, oh yeah, maybe, you know, he knows better because he's been here longer, and maybe this and that. And then I started doubting myself. And now what actually it taught me is that, no, I know what I'm talking about. And then I realized I have to show my authority. So if I'm showing something, I would just, I don't know, let's say like a lock, you know, when you're putting someone in a certain position, whatever. I realized I have to show it like properly, so they would know I know what I'm talking about. Because otherwise they don't really respect you as they should respect someone who's leading a session. And it's interesting because after that, even when I was teaching like different kind of session, like fight choreography, etc., sometimes they would look at me like, you know, when you're just like talking to the class, they're looking like, I don't think so, she knows anything. You know, you just sense that energy. And I used to be so nervous. And then I realized that I really need to show the trust in myself that I know what I'm talking about. And after those couple of sessions, I realized those guys who kind of doubted me the most, we became like really good friends. And it really like became like a good relationship. So I realized there's a lot of things to do with me as well, because I'm going into that space, or like even film industry, so many men around. And sometimes I'm going in there like still this little girl like who's 16 years old and who's just there like, I'm like so shy and like timid and stuff. And I realized
this is the feeling you're getting.
You did,
instead of going in there, be like, no, I know what I'm talking about. So you have to hear me out. It's like it's one of those things, sometimes you don't even need to talk about it. It's just how you're holding yourself in a space, and how you're saying hello, and how you're saying this and that, how you say your name, and then people really start respecting you. And then I kind of really enjoy working with, doesn't matter how many men or how many women, I really enjoy working, but it took so much work within myself to actually hold that space.
Amazing. But isn't it extraordinary though? To be respected, you have to prove yourself. But how many where we go to talks, men, because they're leading the classes, we respect them from the get-go. Because they're leading the class or they're the boss, we don't question. And it's only when they prove to be useless and incompetent that then we say, okay, that was a shit person or whatever. But that's because, again, we're putting the onus on us. The work is on us. But why? You earned your place there. To me, is why do you have to prove to suit these men? No, they have to change to accommodate you walking in the room. Their energy is low, then they have to raise their energy. And that's what we're doing over and over and over again. Yes, we need to meet in the middle then. If they don't want to meet us where we're at, then we meet in the middle. Because my problem is, no matter how many times you would go in a room, this particular class is now used to you and respecting you, but you had to earn their respect. Why? How many times I go somewhere, they don't care about my respect. They just stand and they talk crap, and then I have to take it, right? But the thing is, you'll go to another class, let's say you teach in LA, you'll have to do it all over again. Can you understand the energy that you are spending just trying to convince this particular class that you deserve to be there? No, you're there, that's it, non-questionable. Now, if you deliver badly, if you're terrible at your job, then yes, that's when people should question. The same way they would with a man, a CEO, a leader, a manager, or whatever, a trainer, I don't know, a dog whisperer. And this is my problem, is that we're still
Have to
finding
fight.
ways
Yeah.
to kind of work around, because that's what we do. We're going to work around to suit what society has been doing for so long. And it doesn't work. Being pragmatic is okay in many situations, but I think in those scenarios, I just think I'm flabbergasted that we still have to look at ourselves.
That's why I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
No,
That's
okay.
exactly why I said that kind of thing. It shouldn't be that way. I shouldn't be going to the room trying to prove myself. Like, I'm actually, look, hear me out. Please listen to me because I'm worthy. It's not a kind of, it's not a good energy.
2023. Seriously, we still have to go through. That's insane, and that doesn't make sense to me. That then we have these women talking on TED Talks, how how powerful your mind, creative, manifest. And I'm like, dude, no, it works for you, but realistically, we're 3.5 billion women on Earth. It's not working for us.
But I think it's a lot of the women as well that are in those positions. They've come this sense like they're not. They've just kind of, like what you were saying before, they've got to the place where they want to be or where they're happy, and they're not who they used to be. Like us, it's back to that again. If we want to become that person, we've got to change. We can't be who we are to get to that place. We have to change. So it's just back to square one. I think when going forward, we do need to start from the younger generation coming up. I really do think. I do think that. I think a lot more in schools and colleges coming up.
Confidence.
Because we need that. We need it because I don't want to say it's too late for us, for people our age, but I think they're so stuck in their ways. There's a lot more work. There's work we can do, don't get me wrong, but I think we do need to start teaching that from a young age coming up, so it's already installed in them coming up.
That's why I think the education system really needs to change the way it's being taught, certain things about even subjects about who we are as human beings. I'm not, because obviously I went to school in Lithuania because I'm originally from Lithuania, but no one taught us about self-confidence. No, we had one economic class, and nobody was really paying attention to the teacher because everybody thought that economic wasn't as important because math and I don't know, physics, whatever, that's more important because you're actually getting graded more, arts wasn't respected. So I feel if we, for like you said, for the younger generation, for girls and boys, if you're gonna start teaching them how important it is to respect each other, and so I think that's why equity, and we could embrace equity much easier. So when they go to college and when they're gonna start looking for work or thinking about their careers, girls don't need to think about the things, oh my goodness, how I'm gonna talk in front of these guys, or how I'm gonna prove myself, and I'm gonna go ask for the investor when they have a business idea, isn't it?
It's a bit like before a conversation, not gonna go into details, but what we had before about things changing and in the schools and stuff like that. Well then, change the books. Show women in higher positions then. So when the children are growing up, or they can see that, wait, it's normal for a woman to be in this position. And I think when things like that start to change, it filters. And when they grow with that understanding as well. So we've got a lot of work to do.